Hey, it's Mark Ferguson back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about fix and flipping, how much to pay for a flip, and also about the cost associated when flipping houses. So we're going to talk about what you should pay based on what the house will be worth and all the costs that go into why you should pay that much too. So if you see the house flipping shows, a lot of times they leave out most of those costs. They don't tell you the whole story, and those people really aren't making as much money as it looks like they're making. So you want to be realistic. You want to know what the true costs are when you're flipping a house so you don't make a mistake, end up losing money when you thought you're going to make a whole lot of money. All right, before we get started, of course, check out investformore.com. That's F-O-U-R, the number 4 spelled out. Listen to my podcast. Got tons of articles on flipping, tons of articles on rentals, a lot of articles on being a real estate agent. I've got a number of books as well on Amazon that are paperback, audiobooks, all kinds of great stuff if you guys are interested in more resources. All right, so flipping houses can look very glamorous, but there's a lot of work, a lot of numbers, a lot that goes into it. One of the most important things is to know how much to pay for a flip so you don't lose money. A lot of people like to use the 70% rule when they're flipping houses. And what the 70% rule is, it says you should pay 70% of the ARV minus your repairs to make sure you get a good deal on a flip. What is ARV? ARV is the after repaired value. So that means after you fix up the house, the ARV is what the house will sell for when you list it with an agent, sell the property. Please use an agent. Don't try and sell it yourself. You'll make more money using an agent. But you want to use 70% of that. So let's say you have a house that once you fix it up is going to be worth $200,000. You multiply that by 70%. That gives you $140,000 as how much you should pay if it needs no work at all. If it needs $20,000 in work, you would subtract that from the $140,000. You would pay $120,000 for that property according to the 70% rule. Now, the 70% rule can work well for a lot of people. It can be fudged a little bit though. A lot of my flips come really close to the 70% rule, but not all of them. There's some situations where I pay more than that for a property. I can pay more than the 70% rule for one reason, because I'm an agent. So because I'm an agent, if I'm buying a house from the MLS, I earn a commission as soon as I buy it. So when I buy that $200,000 house, I might make $5,000, $6,000 back as a real estate agent because of the way it's set up with my broker and all that stuff. And when I sell the house, I said that backwards. When I sell the house, I can make, $6,000 because I'm listing the house. I don't have to pay another agent to list it for me. I would still pay another agent who represents the buyer. When I buy the house, say I buy it for $120,000, I would save, $335 at $100 as the buyer's agent because I don't need an agent to represent me. I can buy the house myself. So that's a lot of money you're saving, $5,000 to $10,000 on some deal by being a real estate agent. So that adds, a couple percentage points I can buy a house for. And the 70% rule, I might be able to pay 72, 73% because I'm an agent. For people who aren't agents, you might want to stick close to that 70% rule because you'll be paying them and you won't be getting that savings. Something else to consider with the 70% rule is that houses that need less work, sometimes you can still make the desired profit with or by paying more, especially in higher price ranges. So if you're buying a house for $200,000, say it's going to be worth $300,000 when it's fixed up. Well, the 70% rule says you'd pay $210,000 for it. Say it needs $30,000 work, it says you'd pay $180,000 for that house. Well, you still might be able to make your desired profit and pay a little more in the 70% rule. Or if it needs $10,000 in work, maybe you can pay a little more than the 70% rule as well, still make your desired profit. Because it's a higher price ranged house, you have less repairs. There's just a lot of things to consider when flipping. The 70% rule can be a good baseline if you're just starting out, but really what you should be doing if you're flipping houses is writing down all the costs, all your expenses, and doing that by hand, seeing what your potential profit is, and figuring out if it's a deal that way. Don't just use a blanket rule like the 70% rule to see if it's a good deal. Write it all out. And something else to consider is depending on what state you live in, your taxes will be different. You might have more transfer taxes. You might have mortgage taxes like they do in New York. You might have to pay an attorney instead of a title company, which will cost you more. There's different costs for everybody. My taxes on a $200,000 house in Colorado might be $1,000 or $1,500 a year, where the taxes on that house in New York might be $8,000 a year. That's a huge difference in cost while you're owning that property. So I like to write out everything I can and figure out what my desired profit would be. So what are all those costs that you're gonna have when you're flipping a house? There's a lot you need to consider. There's much more besides the repairs that will come into play. When you first buy a flip, you'll probably have some costs. Now, I don't do inspections on my properties. I can look at them, see what needs done, and plan that most things will need to be replaced. Other people might want to do inspections. If you're brand new, I recommend you do inspections. Inspection can cost you a few $100s. If you're using a bank loan, you might have to get an appraisal. There might be origination fees if you're using financing. That could be 1 to 4% of the purchase price amount, depending on what kind of financing you're using. If you're using a regular loan, or if you're using hard money, if you're using private money, all kinds of things to consider with your financing. That's why you need to write this stuff out. What's your origination fee? What are your loan costs? What's your inspection going to be? Do you have to pay for an appraisal? Are there going to be any closing costs you have to pay for as the buyer? Will you have to pay any of the title insurance? Usually the buyer doesn't, but sometimes they do. If you buy a HUD home, you do have to pay for the title insurance. Are there closing fees you have to pay for? Do you have to pay for an attorney? All of this needs listed out. You need to figure out what your initial buying costs are going to be. Then while you own the property, there's going to be more costs. I already mentioned property taxes. While you own that property, you have to know what your property taxes are going to be, how much you're going to be paying. There's going to be insurance. If you get any type of loan at all, you'll have to have insurance on the property. Probably should have insurance if you don't have a loan, but you'll have to pay for property insurance. Flipping insurance can be more expensive than regular homeowners insurance, so you'll have to plan for that. There'll be utilities. While you own the house, you'll have to pay for the gas, electric, water, things like that. There'll be maintenance. If it snows, you're going to have to get someone out there to remove the snow. You're going to have someone mowing the lawns. You're going to have someone taking care of the property, maintaining it while you own it as well. So there's all these ongoing costs while you own it. And you have financing costs too, so you'll probably be paying interest on your loan while you own it as well. So you need to figure all the interest costs, all the carrying costs, all the buying costs. You need to figure the repairs as well. Repairs always seem to be more than I think they will be. I always add about 20% to my budget for what the repairs will be, because I know I'll find more things. I know the contractor will find more things. It'll be more expensive than I think it is. So I have a lot of other videos on how to figure the repairs on a property. I won't go into that right now, but watch those videos if you want to know exactly how to figure them. But you have to be accurate calculating repairs and always assume there'll be more than you think. Something else to consider is how long you'll own the flip. A lot of people underestimate that. Just did a video on that about the length of time it takes to flip a house. I would count on at least 6 months for a pretty minor rehab. Might seem like a long time, but you want to be conservative in this because there are so many carrying costs while you own the property. Now, we get to selling costs. A lot of the house flipping shows, they don't list any selling costs. They just think these houses magically sell on their own with no help. If you want to sell a flip, you need to use real estate agents, okay? You can try doing it by yourself, by owner. You'll make less money. You'll sell it for less money than the agent costs. You'll be marketing to less people. You're giving buyers a chance to take advantage of you with inspections, appraisals, because they'll probably have an agent. You'll want to pay their agent, but then you don't have an agent. It's just a good situation to use agents. If you don't want to pay for agents, become an agent yourself. Save money that way, but you're going to cost yourself more money in the long run if you don't use agents, if you try to do it all on your own and you're not an agent yourself. So I'd highly suggest using an agent. So you will have those costs as well. You'll have to pay real estate agents to list it for you. You'll have to pay real estate agents who represent buyers. There are no set commissions, but HUD uses a 6% commission, 3% to the listing agent, 3% to the buyer's agent. That's one standard you can base what it costs on. You might have to pay for title insurance when you sell that house, or an attorney. Could be $1,000, $2,000. You might have to pay some of the buyer's closing costs, recording fees, a closing fee. There's lots of fees that go into it to flipping a house. So the repairs themselves are actually many times lower than all the other fees. When you add up financing, buying, carrying, selling costs, all those costs are often more than the repairs. And when you watch these flip shows on TV, that's all they show sometimes. It drives me crazy that they only say, hey, sold for $200,000, $30,000 in repairs, bought for $140,000, we made $30,000 in profit. Actually, you probably made nothing after you count your carrying costs, all the other stuff. So that is what one of the main jobs of a flipper is to make sure they know all those costs, make sure they calculate them correctly, and they know what the ARV will be, and they can calculate what the purchase price should be based on the costs, what it'll sell for, and then you can figure out what to buy it for. So the 70% rule can be a decent starting point to figure out if it's a good deal, but really you want to write out those costs. You want to figure them yourself and figure out what your ideal profit is, what your lowest profit margin should be, and if you should make the deal based on that. Everyone's costs are different. Everyone's state laws and rules are different, so you don't want to use blanket rules for every single property. All right, that's all I've got for this video. Hope that helps on figuring costs for flips. Again, you can check out my Fix and Flip book on Amazon. It has tons of information on all this on financing, buying, finding deals, what to fix, what not to fix, selling them, all of that. And it's Fix and Flip your way to financial freedom. Thanks for watching. We'll have some more videos soon. So if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. And if you have any comments, leave them below. I will personally respond to you and help you any way I can. Thanks a lot.